Hi, comic book fans, and welcome to another suddenlycomics.com video. It's the price variance. It's a Monday night. I'm here with everybody's favorite Canadian Alan, but we are not looking at the Silver Age market because this is a pre-recorded video because I'm somewhere in Spain. And in fact, for the next few weeks, Alan is going to be going solo, so be gentle on him. And only get annoyed with him if he shows you Amazing Spider-Man every single week when I'm away. Okay. Just text him, write to him, tell him,
Send them letter campaigns.
yeah. Right. Okay. So, what we are doing this week is we are talking about our five most horrific experiences as comic in the comic industry and the comic trade that we've experienced. So I did three of my horrific experiences on Alan's channel. He did two, and he gets to do three of his horrific experiences on my channel, and he gets to start as he's the guest. So Alan, tell us something horrific.
Horrific. So I'm a big fan of pre-code horror, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. But I always kind of felt like it was a little bit out of my price range, maybe like fairly expensive. Um, and one of the things was there was an auction on eBay that was like actually looked like I was gonna get a book, a really cool book for a really great price. Okay. So uh it's EC Comics. It's the one where it's like I think it's Jack Davis, where the woman is like against the wall and he's throwing the hatchets at her.
Oh, right.
It's like that
Yeah,
magic,
yeah, yeah. And
that.
there's one
And
headed
there's one
towards
that's it's just gonna come
that,
right for her
that
head.
one. Yeah,
And then you see the audience there as well. So it's a great, pre-code horror cover, just a classic. Usually goes for a fair amount of money because it is such a classic cover. So I actually won it was a lower grade, okay, copy of that. But I knew before the auction happened that they would not ship to Canada. And this is before I started using Stackery, okay? So I was like, okay, I got to set this all up. I got to prepare for this situation. So I called my brother beforehand, before I bid on the comic, said, okay, can you, like, I'll get it shipped to you, okay?
yeah,
And then all you have to do is forward it on. I'll pay for the shipping,
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put a good bid on it. I got it for a great price. I think it was like $100-ish.
yeah,
Really great price.
yeah,
It should have been around 150 to
yeah.
200 range,
That's good.
but I got it for a
Yeah,
good price. It was a good price. It's low grade. Um, so they ship it over to my brother. Now, all I expected my brother to do was just remove this, the address label from the other
yeah.
person,
Put a
stick
new one
on
on.
my address label, and then send
Yeah,
it to me.
yeah,
My brother, he's a loving brother. He's a good brother. Doesn't know much about comic book collecting. Doesn't really get that concept. He thought he should check the box, check it to make sure that it's the right book.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So he takes the book out. It's fine. Everything it's in good shape.
yeah.
Solid book. Then he decides that he'll get rid of all the original packaging, just tosses it away. And then he decides that he's going to do a better job of packaging this book.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. This
So what
this
he does
guy
is
this Alan's brother is not a dum dum. He's a professor, I believe.
he is a professor, but he is not a shipping
Oh,
guy. Okay.
not a professor of shipping.
He's not a professor of shipping. So he takes the book, and from what I can tell, his thought was that if he just bubble wraps it to death, it'll be fine. Okay. So, but he took like a book with just like it has the regular backing board, and he just wraps the bubble wrap really tightly
Oh
around this
no.
book. Okay, so the book is like bending from this bubble wrap that's just squeezing the life out of it. Okay, um, and then he decides to put it into a box, but he's bubble wrapped it really well. Like it's got a lot of bubble wrap, so it's like this big box now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously shipping that to Canada is going to be bloody expensive.
Yeah.
So it went from being like maybe could have cost maybe $20 in shipping
Yeah.
to now it's going to be like it was like a $50 for shipping. Okay, 50, $60. And then also hit then it also hits customs
Yeah,
because why is this big box coming? And so I get ding. So I ended up paying almost triple for the book that it should have been like, which is like, oh my goodness. Okay, but I was happy to get the book. I
yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah.
it took forever as well. My brother was like, "Oh, I'm busy. I can't get it out this week." He was, I couldn't rush him. I could,
Yeah, yeah,
he was doing
yeah,
me a
yeah. He was
favor.
doing you a favor, yeah.
But when I got it, it went from being maybe like a good plus
Yeah,
or B, like maybe a
yeah, yeah.
3.0
3-0,
range
3-0.
to maybe being a 1.0.
Oh
It
no.
was just it was mangled. It was mangled. I was like, oh, come on. Yeah, it was brutal. I was like so sad. And it's one of my favorite covers, like from EC. So yeah, that was my horror story. It was just when you're unwrapping this massive amount of bubble wrap and you know that it's not going to be good because there's no like he could have just you put the some kind of cardboard or something to protect
Yeah,
it. There was
yeah.
none of that, so it was just bent.
And that's what happened. People who don't know what they're doing, I occasionally if I buy something on eBay and it's somebody who doesn't normally do comics, you sometimes get them. They've just put a bit of bubble wrap around a comic and put it in a normal envelope, and you think, oh my God. Um,
Yeah.
you know, uh, no,
Yeah, but to have your family member, and the thing is, the annoying part is, I can't say, "Oh, you idiot! What did you do?" Because he was doing me a favor.
yeah,
He was trying to be nice, right?
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, so
No,
it was very
you
painful.
didn't do follow that route anymore. You
Yeah, no, no,
got
no.
Stackery.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I got Stockery later. So yeah. Okay, so that's my first.
Okay, so my next one is a bit of a horror story that turns into a fairy tale at the end. So
Okay.
this was I did a trade with a guy, same guy that I did the trade with, I described with Alan on his channel, where I got a Jack Kirby signature that wasn't a real Jack Kirby signature. And I got a very early Mickey Mouse. So it was a small little Mickey Mouse comic, but it was from 1933 or something. And
Mhm.
it was done as a promotional item, but that's how they did them
It
originally.
was the one of the milk ones,
Milk ones,
give
yeah. And the
milk giveaways. Yeah.
milk companies would give them away. It was done as a
Mhm.
promotional thing, but it was like Mickey Mouse number two. Um,
Yeah.
second
Very early. Like, I mean,
second
this is
ever
huge
Mickey
book,
Mouse. And
actually.
I checked it up on I'd done all my checking on this, and there was one that had sold for something like $1,000 or something in a 5.0. So I thought, oh, this is worth getting graded. So
Mhm.
I sort of pressed it myself, cleaned and pressed it, and I thought, and I took it in. So I did a Heritage. I went to Heritage. I thought I'm going to try and no, wait a minute. Sorry. First thing I did is I sent it off to CGC, and I got
Mhm.
it graded myself at CGC, and it came back as a 6.5 white pager, right? So it was the
Okay.
second highest graded copy. There's only 8 of these on the census, and this one was the second highest graded. So I thought, okay, this is gonna be worth more than $1,000 because that's what a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
5.5 had gone for, and this was.
Mhm.
So I thought this is a bit special. I've got to go for a specialist market. I can't sell this on UK whatnot, or
Yeah, yeah.
even
Yeah, it would you
e-
wouldn't get the value.
even on eBay, you're probably not going to get the value. So I thought I'll put this in, and this is the type of thing that should go to Heritage.
Hmm.
I took a number of things into Heritage, and they accepted them, and this was one of them. Of course, the scary thing about Heritage is there's no reserve on the auctions. But I thought, well, fair
Hmm.
enough. I'll send it. So I sent about 6, 7 things into Heritage, and they gave me an estimate of what they thought they'd all sell for. And it was my first experience so far. It's my only experience of using Heritage, and I do like Heritage. Heritage UK was very good. They were very helpful, and they all go off, and it takes a bit of time. They've got to send them over to the States. Then the people in the States have got to do an evaluation of them, and they've got to write up what they think of them.
Hmm.
Anyway, so it takes quite a long time. So about 6 months later, they tell me they're listing. these items on a show that's going to come up in a couple of months' time. So I think I'd submitted these in something like January, and they were going to come up in a show in July, right? So
Okay.
so when I see the listing of the things that are going to go into the show in July, the Mickey Mouse isn't there, right?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought, where's the Mickey Mouse? So I rang up the UK office and I said,
Hmm.
here's my listing of things I gave you. You can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
it's got the Mickey Mouse on it. Where is it? And she went, oh, I'll have to ring America.
Okay.
So
It's now lost. Okay.
a
Great.
bit like you with your story. So I ring up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then a month later, I haven't had a reply. So I ring up again, and she says, "Oh, I haven't heard back from America yet." The UK office are very good. You know, they answer the telephone, but they have to ring
Hmm.
America to find out what's going on. Anyway, eventually, after about 2 months, they come back and say, "Oh, CGC had put this as Mickey Mouse number one. It isn't. It's Mickey Mouse number two. So we've had to send
Hmm.
it back to CGC to get relabeled." Right?
Okay.
I thought, okay, fair enough. But it would have been nice if you'd told me that.
Somebody told you.
Somebody
Yeah.
told
Yeah,
me
yeah.
this in the first place, right? And this was post-COVID, so CGC turnaround times were better. But
Mhm.
and anyway, about another 3 or 4 months later, I haven't heard anything, you know. So I
Wow.
sort of contacted them. I said, this went off to CGC for relabeling about 4 or 5 months ago, and where is it? And she said, oh, I
Mhm.
don't know. I better ring America again. And they came back and they said, oh, we don't know where it is. And I thought, this is the world's premiere.
I know. They lost your book.
I
Basically,
was
it feels like.
convinced they'd lost it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was literally just writing an email saying, how are you going to compensate me for losing
Hmm.
this comic?
Yeah, yeah.
Something dropped into my email. It came and it said, oh, your Mickey Mouse is going to be in this auction in December.
Hmm.
Uh, no other pre-warning. They just said, oh, there it is. It's on the auction
We
in
found
December.
it. Yeah.
So it took from January to December to get this
Hmm.
thing in auction. And the good news is I got a really good price for it as well. So
Yeah.
so it was a bit of a nightmare for about 6 months.
Nightmare, but it worked out in the
It
end. You got a
worked out
good
in the
price.
end. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, that's not too bad of a horror story.
No, but it wasn't very nice when it was going on.
I know, I know. It's like, yeah, dealing with that kind of stuff. Like that's the way I felt with my books in COVID. That was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
brutal. Um, okay, so my next horror story is actually kind of an interesting one. I am incredibly unlucky as a person. I never win anything. I'm like the least lucky person out there. I don't know. Like I think I've told the story maybe to you before where I was on a cruise, okay?
Yeah.
And I won like I didn't win actually. There was they they had this thing for couples. Like if you were a recently married
Yeah.
couple, you
Yeah.
could go to this thing.
Right.
And for some reason there was only three couples,
Okay.
okay?
Right.
And they had two prizes. Okay. So the chances of winning were like insane. Like, two out of like
Yeah, you've got more chance of winning than not winning.
exactly. Okay. So everybody wins but me, right? My wife and I lost. And like I'm like, geez, come on, this is like so but they felt bad for us. So one of the other people they said, oh, because of a time conflict and you guys look pathetic, we'll give you the prize. So we got one of the prizes, but that's the type of experience that I have. I never win anything. Okay.
Right.
So there's an auction that I like to watch on Instagram. They always have really cool golden age books.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing that they do is they drink. They play this drinking game where they drink and then the prices seem to get better as they drink more and more. And then they also like, oh, because we're really drinking now, we're going to give away a free book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And they always do this, and they have this roulette wheel,
Yeah.
and then they put everybody's names onto the
Yeah.
onto the
Yeah.
wheel basically, and so it's a big thing. Normally the books that they give away actually are pretty good,
Yeah.
usually $100 to $200 range.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, I think he just ran because I think they were drinking a bit more than usual. They ended up grabbing just some they just, oh, we'll go with this one, this random book. And it was a super early Superman, like early Superman.
Yeah.
Okay. So it
Yeah.
was like $1,000 book that they
Right.
put onto the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm watching and I'm waiting, like, they want to build it up, because
Yeah.
they're really trying to sell stuff at
Yeah.
the end
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So they're building up, and I'm
Did
like,
you
it's
only
taking time.
did you only get on the wheel if you'd bought something?
Nope. No, everybody gets on the wheel.
Everybody watching gets on the wheel.
Everybody watching gets on the wheel.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's pretty good, actually. So they're building it up, and my wife is like, honey, Alan, she, I'm trying to make the most annoying voice I can, but she wanted me to hang out with her. But I'm watching this, and it's like I can tell they're going to have the auction soon. Not the auction, but the
Yeah.
draw, the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
spin.
Yeah.
I'm like, just a few more minutes, and like they're just babbling. They're showing books. They're
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know they're going into the spin. I'm like, come on, just do the wheel, do the
You have
wheel.
to be there to win it. So if you go, you
That's the key part. So my wife, okay, I guess I'll leave, but I'll come back. I'll check on it. And so what happened was, I left for like 10 minutes. Okay, literally 10 minutes, because I came up with some excuse with the wife. Oh, I'll get something for us to eat or something,
yeah.
so I could check it to see if the roulette wheel. And so when I got back, my Instagram had a whole bunch of messages. People were like trying to contact me. They were trying to call me. I didn't bring my phone with me for whatever stupid reason. They were like, "Oh, you won the big one. This is like a," and they're like, they gave it to somebody else. So I was like, "Oh man,"
That, that is a horror story. Did you tell
it's
your
like,
wife? Does your wife know this story?
yes. I was like, I was so upset. I was so upset. Like, like the one time that I won, like it was just so frustrating. You know, it was like a big book too. I mean, this is like 1,000 US. That's
Yeah,
like a lot of money.
that's a
Like
definite.
in Canada, that's like that's a year's salary.
You
It's
actually
like,
won something,
and I actually win something.
and then you didn't get it.
Yeah, it was really sad. And everyone was trying to help me. Everyone was like, "Oh, you know,"
Yeah, they were
they were
trying to
trying to
let you know.
contact me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And they gave you
and
so
I
long.
had only like literally just walked away for a few minutes. So I was very, very sad. Yeah, so that's my horror story.
Okay, that is pretty horrendous. So
Mm.
my last one is I think this will be another one that's fairly common I mean I did have the choice of a tape pull. So but we did tape pulls on Alan's channel. I did have a tape pull on Amazing Spider-Man 50,
Hmm.
which was pretty horrendous. But the other one I've got, which I think is probably one that comic collectors will have experienced, is I bought a
Hmm.
comic believing it was an original, and when I got it, it was a replica.
Oh, I hate that. I really hate that.
Yeah, so I bought it, and to be honest, the price was good. So
Hmm.
I should have thought, it's too good to be true. I'll tell you what it was. It was the comic we showed the other week. It was the Rifleman with the
Oh, the Rifleman number 10.
got wood cover. Yeah.
Yeah, the Gut Wood. Yeah, that's a
So
great one.
I'd seen it. We'd shown it on our channel, and I thought I've got to get
Hmm.
one of those. So I looked for it on eBay, and I found it in the States. And it was, I checked up on what the price should be, and it was like sort of $25 or something. I thought, oh, that's a very good price. Um,
Hmm.
so I bought it. It came, and I had to wait quite a long time for it to arrive because it goes to Stackery, and then I have to wait for the Stackery.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
what I always find is, because it has to go to Stackery, and then you're leaving at a Stackery for a while,
yeah,
whatever return window you have is always
it's
gone.
always gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so if it went in at the beginning of the Stackery box, I always leave it there for 5 or 6 weeks to let it
Yeah.
build up because the more you send at the same time, the cheaper it is per comic.
That's what I always do. Yeah.
So, it can be sometimes, and then it takes 2 or 3 weeks to come over. So, it can be 2 months since I bought the thing to when I
Hmm.
get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I opened this up, and as soon as I opened it up, I thought, oh, this is not the original. This is a replica. Sort of
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
was quite
Was
nice. Well,
photocopy. Is it a photocopy one?
it
Like,
wasn't a photograph. It was a bit better than that. It sort of had a but somebody had obviously done a facsimile reprint of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's the only real time it's happened to me. But I know
Yeah.
people have had this experience. I think is it Ultimate Fallout 4 where the facsimile is virtually identical.
Well, there was funny thing with that. They actually graded a few of them as not, 9/8 first printings.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what
they
you got to
they
watch out
that
for.
was pretty bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they really made it almost the same. The only thing that was different was the code. The little barcode on it.
Yeah, yeah, which not many people read the barcode. So,
Mhm.
I mean, actually, we were talking about underground comics a couple of weeks ago. That's another one where, the first print is worth quite a lot of money, and the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth are not worth as much. But it's very
Yeah,
difficult to tell whether what
which one you get?
it's whether
Yeah,
you've got a first print or a second print or a third print. You've got to really know what you're looking at.
I've
And
had that happen to me a few times where you get a second printing or a third printing, and you're like, oh crap. Because there's just no value there. It's just like the first printing, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 first print versus second print is just huge difference.
yeah,
But
because
yeah.
one of my Whatnot guys was telling me yesterday he was watching another Whatnotter,
Hmm.
and he'd this Whatnotter had fallen out with him. I said, "Why
Hmm.
did he fall out with you?" He said, "Because I pointed out the fact that he was selling an Invincible #1,
The Larry one,
facsimile.
though.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was selling it as an original.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I actually got mad at somebody on eBay. They were selling, I think it was like a Wonder Woman, a Sensation Comics #1. And they wanted, they had it as an auction, and the auction went crazy. But it was obvious that it was the reprint from the '70s.
yeah,
It looked like it was like, it looked pretty beat up. So it looked like, if you just go by the look of it,
it looked like it
sure,
could be an
it
original.
could be
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
It could be because it was so beat up. But yeah, it was totally reprint. Yeah. So uh, my last horror story is related to my wife, actually.
Again,
Again, my wife, I guess, is in many of my horror stories. I don't know. But in my previous house, we sort of saved up some money, and we were going to do some like renovations. Okay.
yeah,
And one of the things that we agreed on is like I would get a comic room.
yeah,
I finally had my own comic room.
yeah. You had a good.
So I had sort of a closet that
Yeah,
I could put stuff in. It was actually a pretty big closet. It was like a room, and I put all my boxes in there. But it really wasn't a proper storage place for comics. So we wanted to create like shelving and like make it really like a really cool comic room. And if you remember my previous comic
yeah. It
room, it
was
was
great.
actually
It was very good.
it
Yeah,
was a it
yeah.
was a good one. Very functional, very awesome. But so it took forever to get the contractor. He was very slow, very slow. It was painfully slow. Um, so I had to pull my comic books out of that room so that they could work on it, right? And so my comic rooms were just sort of sitting in like we had like a basement, like sort of like it had like a little kitchen and like a exercise room, and there was just like a space that you could put. Well, I put my comics there. Um, so I had all my comics there. I was just waiting. I was like so eager for this room to be finished. So I don't know. I was up in my office working, doing whatever, and all of a sudden I hear my daughter yell, and she's like, "It's raining! It's raining!" I'm like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Okay, so she was in the basement. She liked to study. There was like a little table down there. She would study where the comics were, and so I ran down to find out what the hell she was yelling about, and the ceiling had just like just all water had just like collapsed the
Oh,
ceiling.
oh no.
Okay,
Yeah,
right over where like the one spot where this happened, like it didn't hit my daughter. She was fine. And she was like literally right next to there. It was just right over the comic books where I put all these long boxes of comics. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what happened? What's going on here? So I'm like pulling these long boxes out of this pool of water, just a big pool of water. I'm like trying to rescue them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because they're in the
And
boxes. Have they got lids on the boxes?
uh okay, so some of them did, but some of them were older boxes, so I didn't have lids for
Yeah.
them.
Okay. Right.
And then I like when you put the bag, board in the bag, sometimes you're lazy about
Yeah.
taping them
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I didn't do that either. So there was like a bunch of things that these were vulnerable. Okay. So what happened was I grabbed all the boxes out of the way. I tried to rescue them. Um, so I found out what happened was my right above that area is the kitchen, and my wife had filled up the kitchen sink. Okay, because she was like going to make kimchi, and you wash the
Yeah.
lettuce,
Yeah.
and then or the cabbage, I should say,
Yeah.
and you wash the cabbage, and then she after washing all the cabbages, she just let the water drain, but because it drained all at once, like it just poured
Overload.
down into the
Yeah.
basement. Yeah, overloaded and just poured down into the basement. So basically, it destroyed two long boxes. Yeah. So the books that it destroyed, fortunately, were my Malibu collection. I guess that's a fortunate thing. But so back in the day, I liked Malibu comics back in the 90s. That was the first real
Okay.
thing that I
So
tried to
they're not
collect.
expensive comics.
Yeah, but I paid, this was like money that I really like. I was poor. I was a starving student, collector. And like this was like, I had like these were my pull list. I said pull everything Malibu. I had a complete collection of Malibu and they were all mint, right? But now they were soggy. They were all soggy. So yeah, it was pretty bad. So I was like in tears kind of level, I was like really sad. It worked out though in my favor. I mean, these are dollar bin books
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They gave me, I think, $3 per book in terms of my insurance company.
Okay. So that was all right.
So, so it actually worked out that I had, like, I think I got like, I think it was almost like $8,000
Oh,
worth of insurance money for the comic loss. And I got to keep the comics. They're soggy, and I did manage to kind of dry them out and make them look so-so. Um, but yeah, so I ended up okay actually at the end of it. So a little bit of a positive ending because I ended up with about eight thousand
yeah. But
dollars,
when
which
it happens, it's not fun, is it?
no, I was really really sad because this was my university
Yeah.
collection
That was
that
your
just got
university.
destroyed,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
destroyed. It was really sad. Like I was worried that some of my better books were going to be
Yeah.
destroyed, but it just happened. It took out my Malibu collection, which was two long boxes at the time.
That's a pretty
So
horrific.
that's yeah.
Right.
So that's
So
my last story.
both of us have had some pretty horrific experiences. I think Alan wins. I think Alan has the worst experiences. I think the story about the raffle, leaving the roulette,
That's pretty brutal. Yeah.
winning it, and then coming back too late to claim the comic, and
Mm.
his ceiling collapsing on top of his Malibu collection probably win the horror stories. Okay,
Mm.
so that's it for this week. We'll be back. Well, Alan would be back next week.
Yep.
Hopefully, he'll continue to do the Silver Age review.
I will. Yep.
I'll be back in a month or so, and I will be checking in to make sure he isn't doing Spider-Man every single week.
I'll only do cool books when you're gone, so don't worry.
Oh yeah,
All
that's
the
what he's going to
best.
do. He's going to
It'll be
do
the
no
best of the
Spider-Man.
best.
He's going to do no Spider-Man for 4 weeks, and then when I come back, he'll go, "But we haven't done Spider-Man for 4 weeks." So all of
Yeah,
them.
let's do all Spider-Man episode when you get back. It'll be fun.
Right, great. I'll look forward to that. Uh, that's your lot. See you again soon.